you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all
Hi, I'm anarchist prisoner Sean Swain.
And I am one of his cellies from many, many moons ago.
Yeah, Anarcology. So before we get into today's topic, I have a question. Have you ever seriously considered joining the Somali pirates?
Somali pirate?
No, the Somali pirates off of the coast of Somalia.
Have you?
Okay, good.
Right.
I didn't want to offend anybody.
Right, I'm familiar.
Yeah, I didn't want to offend anybody because I've done some research here. Okay, so I was thinking about, what am I going to do when I get home? And the obvious answer is, just go to Vegas and do Frank Sinatra tunes. Well, no, Frank Sinatra in Vegas. That's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
Right. But it also feels a little bit shallow.
Right, obviously.
Yeah, but it feels like a shallow life to me. So I started looking into the Somali pirates. But I just have to tell you, they don't wear tricorner hats. They don't have eye patches. They don't put the hooks on the hand or the peg legs. They don't say things like "R matey," and they really treated Tom Hanks really shabby. Have you seen this
really
video
shabby
of Tom
in that
Hanks?
movie? Okay, so we are talking about the same thing. Okay, yeah. We're talking about the same
Yes.
thing.
And I have to say, I don't know, you might not agree with me. Tom Hanks is a national treasure. So going all the way back to Bosom Buddies.
Next to Nicolas
Are you
Cage,
familiar with Bosom Buddies? Bosom Buddies?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar? Tom Hanks, Bosom Buddies?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. And everybody else who doesn't know what this is, they'll have to Google it. But so yeah, I'm not joining the Somali pirates. I just wanted to put that out there.
They lost.
Yeah. So that's that.
They're lost.
Yeah. So should we get to today's topic? What do you think?
Absolutely.
So
the
profound topic.
The introduction that I chose was because go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
So the reason I chose the introduction that I chose and was somewhat, fundingly vague about it is because we're talking about identity. We're talking about the different aspects and attributes that make up an identity, and also, what we as people use as identifiers, which is to say adjectives that describe our identity. So
right.
One of the identities that I have is as your cellie, right? We spent 22 hours a day locked in a concrete box for an extended amount of time. That's a very select group of people.
Right. And I'm sure everybody out there is sending you their sympathies right now. So yeah, but you got cosmic on me. You got cosmic on me before we even got started. Yeah. Wow.
Right.
So yeah, that is what we're dealing with.
The envelope. Who was the Tucker? No. The attorney.
Oh, you mean well, there was
Trevor Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trevor Clark.
Yeah, my favorite guy. An absolute sociopath. Trevor Matthew
Clark.
I'm sure
that he identifies you as his favorite guy too.
Yeah, he now works at Wexner Medical Center. Yeah, Wexner Medical Center. He now works there, fucking up those people's lives. So, yeah. Anyway, so if we get to today's topic is identity. So, we're going to express this in the question, do you know who you are? And the question isn't who are you, but do you know who you are? I think George Harrison
identify. Yeah.
Yeah. I think George Harrison should be plucking a sitar when we ask the question. You know, plinking a
Something like that
sitar.
happen.
But yeah, um, yeah. Do you know who you are? Which kind of seems like a stupid question if you didn't know what we had planned for the episode. But kind of a no-brainer. But that really is the point, I guess, that we spend a lot of time navigating the world as we are, and very little time questioning what makes each of us who we are. So I think we should explore that question. Do we know who we are? So do me a favor here and imagine that you and I are just meeting for the first time, right? You with me?
Remember that day very clearly.
Um, and you're going to tell me who you are. What's the first thing you're going to tell me?
My name.
Exactly. It's the
See, in
principal
telling
way
you
we
my
identify
name, I'm
ourselves.
telling you so much about me because more than likely my reputation will precede me once you hear my name, it will invoke so much, at least from what I understand it to mean. Right, when I tell
Right.
you my
The
name, I'm not just
associations
telling
with
you
the
my
name.
I'm also giving you my entire reputation, which is probably something that you yourself have encountered. No interaction of mine, but you've heard somebody else
Uh-huh.
or heard of some. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
the last time that you saw me, I was moving, but my feet weren't touching the ground.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. You had some people pretty mad at you. Um, uh, so yeah. So let's unpack this idea of our names, right? First off,
Right.
first off, our names aren't really our names because we didn't pick our names. Somebody else put that name on us, right? Like my parents. My parents named me. I didn't choose Sean. I wasn't like 5 or 10 years old and they got to know me and decided, you know what?
Yeah.
This guy seems like a Sean. That's the
Some of
name
us
we
would
should
have
put
ended
on
up
him.
with names like Dragonheart.
Yeah. Or Megatron or something. You just never know. But yeah, you just never know. You
Oh
just never
man,
know.
but that's why though, and that's why because
Yeah.
what kind of world would we live in if people could call themselves Crest mouthwash?
Yeah. So this is Megatron
right.
for the Anarcology episodes
Coming
and
to you live.
the Anarcology podcast, and we're going to
We're
head into break,
60-second break. We'll call back.
and we'll call and
Call
we're
right
going to
back.
call right back, and we're going to pick up where we left off with Ello and Megatron.
Thank you for listening
It-
to XD3.
Yeah, if anyone's still
Red.
listening to this, thank you. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to hang up.
Below for free merch. Comments, free merch.
Yeah, free merch. Well, it shouldn't be free. It should be paid for.
Smash that subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button and tell your friends all about us.
And we're back, and we're talking about identity. So, one of the principal ways that we identify is by our names. And I was just talking about how our names are something that are assigned to us by two perfect strangers before we're even born. So, in a lot of ways, the names that we're given are a package of aspirations that our parents have for us. That's not really something we're choosing for ourselves. So our names really don't say too much about who we are, the name itself. The name that gets assigned to us is something arbitrary that we didn't choose. But the funny thing is, they've done studies. Maybe Bumblebee can find some of this stuff. I'm not sure. But they've done studies where they have people hooked up to brain scans and to polygraph tests, and they'll say a person's name, and when someone says your name, the name that you were born with, your brain lights up like a Christmas
Right.
tree.
Right. That's just stimulus. You're right. Stimuli.
Yeah,
Recognition.
which is probably not surprising.
So let me ask you
because
this.
we've
Okay,
responded
so
to it.
so your mom gave you the name. Your mom and dad, whatever, co-conspirators, 50-50, agreed to the name of giving you Sean. But then, at
Yep.
what point do you take on the responsibility for the actions of Sean? At what point can you claim that identity or claim that reputation? Because I mean, I lived up to my name. I made a name for myself when I came to the joint, and I lived up to that.
Right.
Growing business,
Well, yeah.
right?
That's an association, though. That's an association others are making between that name and your conduct, because they also accept that name has been assigned to you, right? But it is a name that's assigned to you. It's a name that is assigned, you see? And that's the point that I'm making here, is that it's not the name that you've chosen, it's a name that somebody else chose for you. So when I say my name, it's not really my name, it's my mom and dad's name for me, right? It just so happens to be assigned to me. Yeah. So that's one way. And I would say that's an inadequate way for us to really be able to describe the substance of who we are and our identities based upon a
That's, I
name
guess,
that
what I was
somebody else
trying to
assigned
say
to
when I
us.
was talking about your name and your reputation being like one presentation, because when I say my name and then it has the recognition, you might know me from Talim, you might know me from Ashland, you might know me from The Whole, you might know me from a program, you might know me from, so there's all these multifaceted aspects of what that name represents. And all I am is claiming everything that name represents, because that is my name.
Right.
So
yes.
it's
And
not in a braggadocious way, but in a claim way, in because if it fails, then it's on me too.
right. The associations that are made with the name, either good or bad. So let's go to that one now, because that's another way that we are identified, is in our relationships to other people and other things, right?
Commitment.
So we can say my identity can be understood by the fact that I'm Nancy and Paul's son, or I'm Barb's cousin, or Elo's former cell partner, and these are ways that we also attain identity and understand ourselves. But this is really also an inadequate way of understanding ourselves, because you are a different person to your grandmother than you are to me, and you're a different person to me than you are when you're attending Talim, and you're a different person there. These other people, these other associations.
Isn't the goal not to be different, though? To be the same at all of those?
I don't know, because it isn't up to you.
I would be the same at Talim as I would with my great, because that's my best behavior. So the standard of behavior is like my best behavior, and so I think that I would be the same at Talim as I would in front of my mother. And I think I would be the same at Talim as I would at a funeral, or I would be the same at Talim as I would at dinner with the family, because that is that's Dean. That's my Dean. That is the standard of what is completely representable.
But what you're talking about is your behavior in those places, right? You have control over that. What you don't have control over. Yeah, what you don't have control over is other people's perceptions of who you are. Because who you are to your mom is someone entirely different than who you are to me. And so we may try to say that we can create a composite.
still want to push back on that because I really think that it would be the same. I cannot see myself other than maybe like pushing it on the fucking Arabic, like writing it, speaking it. That'd probably be the only part that I would tone down. I would say if I was gonna say there was but I still don't think there's any difference between how I would act at Talim and how I would act at.
No. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
That is.
But what you're talking about here is how you are, and not who you are.
Right. How you're interpreted.
See?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
How you are is the same,
Would your
but
mom,
who you are is
right.
entirely
Would your mom
different.
see you as the
Your
same?
boss,
Right.
your boss sees you
And
as
your mom wants
a
me
worker.
to challenge for the Amir spot up here. He wants me to be the Amir up here.
Right. And the person who's there, who is,
and I don't think my mom would look at me like that. Right, my mom wouldn't look at me like that. My mom would not take away from that experience that I should qualify to be the Amir. She wouldn't even know what an Amir is.
Right. See? So everybody sees you.
Right. So then that goes to when somebody speaks about you. Right.
Yeah, all that goes together. All that goes together.
Right.
And we still don't find identity there, right? We don't find the substance of who you are, even if we create
reputation.
A composite from all of these people's views of you. Because relationships end, and you don't. You continue to exist even after a relationship ends.
There is I joke with Portia and I tell her that she's made me world through rose-tinted glasses or rose-tinted lenses.
She made you what?
See the world through rose-tinted lenses. Through her influence, the world has taken on a rosy hue. And do the right thing. Malarkey.
So in all these ways,
it's an example of her influence in her right.
Yes. So that's that. That's the relationship to another. Can you think of another way that we identify?
Gender.
Yeah.
So gender.
Our gender identification.
Goes, and then it goes like sexuality, meaning like heterosexuality, lesbian. And then it's political.
But again, those are also relational.
And then
I would say those are also relational. And
what?
Our gender identities kind of.
I mean, that's pretty like binary.
How about
I mean, you can change, but even once you change, you're still one or the other.
How about this? You're at a dinner party, right? And somebody walks up and shakes your hand. The first thing they tell you is their name. What's typically the second thing they tell you about themselves?
The setting, I would say, probably because for like a fraternity, and I were the president, or I would be.
How about like an occupation?
About to take the stage. Yeah, right.
What people do.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
My name's John, and I work for the Welding
Yeah.
Company. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Joe Snowbucket. I work in advertising.
But if you're at a church service, are you going to say electrician, or are you going to say like deacon or lay leader or elder or?
Yeah. Well, I think that all still fits too.
First brother, second brother, third. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is but essentially it's the same.
Required. It's the military.
It's the same
event,
formula.
They're going to say their rank. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're going to say essentially.
I'm going to give you my rank and my name.
Yeah. This is who I am, and this is what I do. Right. And I think probably it's not coincidental that,
or I'm
that
MOS,
we do
right.
introductions.
MOS.
Yeah.
What's your name?
And right. Yeah. This is me, and this is what I do.
Right.
So, with what we do, I think it's no coincidence that that becomes the second thing we reveal to people, because the first thing that we're indoctrinated to accept is our names. That's how we know who we are. And the second thing we're indoctrinated to accept is that we have our purpose and meaning in what we do to keep this civilization program going. This is my function. This is what I do. So we are indoctrinated to understand our importance that way.
Yeah, we got a 1-minute break, so tell them what to do, Sean. What do they need to do? They need to buy our
they need to use the bathroom and get a snack. Get a snack, and then come on back.
Instagram, follow us on Facebook.
And that too.
Tell her hair looks nice.
And buy a lot of merch. And
all the merch.
And then come on back and listen to us. We're coherent most of the time.
We're finished about identity.
About identity.
Doing this conversation on identity for sure.
Hi, and we're back to the Anarcology podcast. You're here with me, anarchist prisoner Sean Swain, and Elo, who has joined us this week. And we were discussing identity and how our occupation informs identity, particularly in the culture we live in. It seems that occupation is really, really important. So much so that some people, when they end, yes, and some people, when they end a particular form of occupation, they can't adjust to life without that occupation. Right. Particularly,
because it was
something that you've mentioned. What's that?
40 or 50 years, they've done the same thing, and they retire and they still have life left, but they don't do anything else.
Right. Yeah, and they don't know who to be, and the same thing goes with the military. We have as of right now, 23 combat veterans a day take their own lives. And I mean, this is just my opinion on this. I have nothing necessarily to back this up, but I would suggest that part of this is that we have people who are returning who lived their lives and had identity in a certain occupation, and they don't know how to be somebody else.
Wild, crazy, traumatic. Right. That was what they did.
Yeah, that was who they were. And so having an occupation that is not that seems like a step down. And having an identity that is no longer that.
A demotion. Wow.
Feels like, it feels like becoming nobody.
Sent home.
Right.
I get to go home. I get sent home. Right.
Right. And they don't know who to be.
Dying to go, I get to go. I'm permitted, right? But if then it gives more of the formal, like, no choice type.
Mm-hmm. And so they don't know who to be. And so,
right.
The bullet is the ultimate veto. And that's what I think is happening there. But I would also suggest to anyone listening that occupation is a very inadequate way for asserting identity, because occupation is what we do, yes, for a period of the day, but that's not all that we do.
An obligation, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and in many ways,
society in order to participate. Right? No, I get it.
Yeah, and in many ways, it's how we drag stones up the side of the pyramid.
You're going to learn more about me at Comic-Con than you ever would at work.
Yeah, of course, yeah. What we enjoy doing
Comic-Con
probably says more about us.
Like, helicopter mechanic is what I do to make the money so I can get the tickets to go to Comic-Con.
Right. Yeah. So what
Right.
we enjoy actually says more about us. So there's that. So I would suggest that occupation and what we do is an inadequate way for us to establish our identities. Any other thing you can think of for how we establish what our identity is?
If I say sexual orientation, whether it be heterosexual, lesbian, gay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And that again
Or
speaks
political, which was like
to.
was that
And again, that kind of speaks to how we are rather than who we are. Although, yeah, I would say our sexuality is a big deal.
There was like a geographic or a demographic aspect at play based on where you are going to influence your politics?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or is it your politics influence where you live?
But I think the answer to both questions is yes.
Blue states, I mean, that's like...
Yeah. And I think these indicate how you view the world, how you view the experience of being you.
Right. Or your
right?
obligation even.
Yeah.
Oh.
And your associations and how you choose to navigate all of that, certainly.
Yeah, right.
But so I've got two more on my list of ways. One of them is
it can go all the way
just
down to like
simply
gang
pointing.
affiliation.
Yeah, but again, that's associations. I would lump that in relationships, right?
That's affiliation.
How we relate to other
yeah,
people.
You're right.
Yeah. So how about this? How about
formal.
mhm.
Listen.
How about when we just point at our physical selves and say, "This is me."
Oh, my body.
Right? Our physical existence. Yeah. This is me. Right? People do that.
Yeah, right.
People say, "This is me." You know, for lack of anything better. I am, I'm at these 10 toes and these 10 fingers in the top of my head. All the space in between that is me. Right?
Right. My
So
soul.
this is how I identify me. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's a very inadequate way to identify yourself, isn't it? So my thinking on that particular aspect is this, that first, you have inherited this biological machinery because two people who were complete strangers to you engaged in genital friction. And when they engaged in genital friction, they created these protein puddles.
How is somebody a complete stranger that you were half? Yeah, I don't agree.
Well, you didn't know them yet.
I would say.
Well, they're not complete strangers to each other. They're complete strangers to you.
They're not complete
you don't know them
strangers
yet.
to you either.
Well, you don't know them yet. You don't exist. But you don't know them yet.
Don't you though?
You're not there.
Have like don't you have an idea that you know what I mean? Some of us were planned. Some of our parents sat down and said, all the time.
Well, yeah. Well, that may be the case, but you didn't know who they were when they engaged in genital friction and created you. That's all I'm saying. I think you're overthinking.
They had an identity as a couple, though. They were married.
They did.
So they were husband and wife.
Yeah, they knew each other.
Identity? Can't you know
that?
Well,
yeah, they have identity.
Can't they be known? They got a license. Got the government involved.
Sure. But they're creating you. All I'm saying is you inherited 14 chromosomes from each one of them, and you didn't get to pick them.
Right.
So your biological machinery that you got stuck with, that got created by two people you didn't even know at the time. And it was a crapshoot. And you got what you got. So you can point to the physical body that you live in, and you can say, this is me. But really, this is the...
Right. I hit the genetic lottery.
Didn't we all, in one way or another?
Right.
Some of us, some of us are swimming
And
around
you
in
look
the
at your
shallow
beard,
end of
you
the
still got
gene
your beard?
pool. No, no, I got it kind of trimmed down now, but it still grows. I mean, when it grows in, it grows in. You know. Yeah,
Right, no
I
kidding.
got all my teeth.
Serious.
20/20 vision, got all my teeth. You know, I did all right with
Huh?
that. Did all right with that.
Yeah.
But some of us, you know, swim around in the shallow end of a gene pool a little bit. But that's not our fault. You know, we didn't
Right.
pick that. So there's that with our biological machinery. The other thing I would say to this idea of our bodies being us is an experience that I had, for instance. I was, they tried to illegally rendition me out of state, and in that fiasco, they ended up slamming my finger in a food slot and they chopped my finger off, right? So the moments before that, for my entire life, I had 10 fingers. And after that happened, I had about 9.5. So in that moment that my finger went skittering across the floor, right? Is that my finger?
Not anymore.
Right. So,
No, I don't think it was
and so,
because you're property of the state. That's the state's finger.
well, yeah, that's a whole other concept, though. That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, we're
but
not there yet.
but apart
Tune
from
in
that,
next
yeah,
week
we're not there
for
yet.
how you become state
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, I'll tell you all about that. So, so I'm missing the finger now. So here's my question: what percentage of me did I lose when that finger got lopped off and went skittering across the floor? Am I less of who I was?
I mean, there is a percentage. I mean, there is there is a measurement. Like they weigh it by the gram. They have medical.
Well, yeah, yeah. In
measurements,
terms of,
like,
yeah,
it
the
has
weight
a
of the
price.
chunk of meat, right? But apart from it
Okay,
just being
okay.
a certain weight of a chunk of meat, have I lost any part of the substance of who I am? Am I only
mean, you can't do
98%
everything
of the
you did
Sean
before,
Swain that
right?
existed? What's that?
Right. What if that one finger was the reason that you were able to eat macaroni and cheese? Without that ninth of a finger, you can't pour the milk that makes the.
Okay. Well, it alters how I have to navigate the world, perhaps. But I would suggest to you that I am
There's
still
no
the same
possible way
full
that you
person.
can pour milk without your pinky. You have to have one.
Well, I
whole
can't
pinky
throw
in
a
order to pour
spiral.
milk. Like it doesn't.
I can't throw a spiral.
Yeah, it's over with.
So-
yeah, you'll never win a Super
so-
Bowl. So yeah, I mean, you had
so,
chance to go
yeah.
out and win the Super Bowl.
So my career as an NFL quarterback is over. So that changes how I have to navigate the world.
Appreciate you guys for listening in. If you're still listening, I can't imagine why, but we appreciate you for doing. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We got merchandise, comment.
And we're back, Anarcology, and we're talking about identity, and we're on how our physical bodies, the biological machines we inhabit, how we identify as ourselves through these biological machines. And I was just arguing that this is a very inadequate way to identify because when I got my finger chopped off, I didn't cease to be who I was. So we can actually lop off parts of our bodies. I'm not, just in case the ODRC is listening and sharpening their knives, I'm not inviting them to keep chopping off body parts. But the body parts, missing the body parts, I would suggest that the essence of who we are doesn't reside in the finger or the hand. And so I would suggest that who we are, the essence of who we are, is something other than our physical selves, that we are inhabiting these biological machines and we're experiencing the world through them, but that the physical machines are not really us. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see that. Then, okay, so then
Uh-huh.
now we start to get to a place where we have to start talking about theology and what you believe. Because
Sure.
Christians believe that there's going to come a day where people will rise up out of their graves. Dry bones will once again have life. And so, aren't your bones like, if what you believe is that, there will come a day when every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, wouldn't your bones be there?
Yeah. Well, I
Somebody
mean, we're
else's
also
bones.
talking about,
Be like, yeah, I'm here just representing.
right. Not to offend anyone
John
who
Wayne.
ascribes to that. Yeah. Not to offend anyone who ascribes to that. That's all. Whatever that cosmic process is for how the bones reconstitute. Okay. I guess, right?
All right.
But
Other than that, though,
we are again.
your bones are not who you are.
We are again then. Yeah. We are infused back into that physical specimen, right? So in the times that the body was degraded, we weren't still, hanging out in those degraded bones, I guess.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. The soul is carried on, for sure.
So we,
I'm with that.
yeah, we were somewhere else. Okay. Which leads us
our identity, who we were.
I have one other way that people often say that they identify, right? And that is by their internal qualities, right? That if you look at all of their internal qualities and stack them all up, yes, brave.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Strong.
I would suggest to you that this is also very inadequate. Because you might be brave, right? You might be brave compared to me, but you're not brave necessarily compared to Leonidas and the 300 who defended the Hot Gates against the Persian Empire. You see what I'm getting at here? So, or they might not be brave compared to you. Who knows? But in either regard,
Like that one.
What we're dealing with. There you go. See? Yeah, we'll go with that. So either way, we have qualities here that are all relative to each other, and so we're all honest. We can all list our qualities, and I can say I'm honest because we're all honest, except for when we're not. Right?
Right.
So that's a very inadequate way. So looking at all of these and the ways in which we identify and the ways in which we obtain identity, I would say all of them, each of them are really lacking in giving us a sense of who we really are. And so if you're cool with this, I would like for our purposes to present to you an anarchological approach to the question of identity. And that's this. And remember, anarchology. Anarchology, the study of freedom, the forces that oppose it, and the methods for obtaining it, right? So this is what I would say about our identities. That we are each a general continuity of experiences. A continuity of experiences. Everything changes, but the continuity is our own experience, and that's valid to you. What you have experienced as you know to be you. There's a thing in the Upanishads, the Hindu holy book, and there's a story of a boy talking with his dad, and the boy says, what am I? And the father points to a pile of salt, and he says, you're like this. He said, taste that. And the boy said, yeah, I can taste salt. So he put the salt in the bowl, and he put water in the bowl, and he stirred it. And he asked his son, he said, "Can you see the salt?" And his son said, "No." So his dad says, "Taste it." So the boy puts the bowl to his lips and he tastes it. And he says, "I can taste the salt, but I can't see it." And his father says, "That art thou. You are that. That is you. The salt that you can taste but can't see. The contents of the bowl." And so for the anarchological approach to this, I like to use that analogy of the bowl. That each of us has the bowl we've inherited, and so into the bowl is pours our experiences. And as the experiences pour into the bowl and it fills up, some of what's in the bowl gets displaced by what continues to come in. And so we are an ever-changing accumulation of those experiences, the water in the bowl. Now, when we experience trauma or anxiety and stress or burnout, you know, perhaps there are toxins that are pouring into the bowl, right? We have rusty water.
They might dissolve.
Yeah, or rancid. Or rancid water or sewer water pours into our bowl. It doesn't just stay right where it poured in, you know. If somebody pees into your bowl, you don't drink out the other side and say, "Well, he peed on that side." You know, because the whole bowl becomes contaminated by the experience, by the toxicity. And so that's what we experience, right? When we experience trauma, an experience of trauma or stress or anxiety or burnout, and that pours into the bowl, it turns the entire contents of our bowl slightly toxic. And so what we need are the tools to
and out of the abundance of our bowl, the mouth speaks. So then everything that we then scoop in for a serving is now but a mere snapshot of what the entire quantity is. If the entire quantity is contaminated, then equally so will that portion be.
And it affects everything. It affects how we even view the world, you know, because it contaminates everything that we have. And so what we have to have are the tools to empower ourselves. What we need is to be able to pour clear, clean water into the bowl, the experience of joy and happiness and purpose, in order to displace all of that toxic water. And so hopefully moving forward, that's what we're going to be doing with this Anarcology podcast. And the episodes that follow, what I have mapped out is what I call a deconstructive analysis, or an analytical deconstruction of all of the systems in place that we encounter that turn the water toxic that pours into our bowls, right? So that we can get a sense of the sources,
the experiences of the people.
All of the things that we experience. Why is this happening? Why is the water in our bowls toxic? Where is this coming from? Because often, particularly in the social sciences, we have a focus on the individual with the bowl of toxic water, right? And we provide some sort of disorder for each bowl of toxic water, but we don't attempt to trace the water back to its toxic source. What's happening to the person? What's happening to each of us? And I would suggest that we have a common experience in civilization. And so the episodes that follow deal with each of those components that toxify us, so that we know where the trauma is coming from, so that we can empower ourselves to confront those sources of our toxicity, and thereby, liberate ourselves. Hopefully, that's the end result. Yeah, we hope you tune in next week for the next episode of Anarcology, that is tentatively titled "Shit Your Pants." And yeah, anything you'd like to add?
Oh man, if you're still listening, we appreciate you leaving us a few rounds while you went to the store for your. So it's been fun. We've enjoyed hanging out with your Rottweilers, your Pit Bulls, your Golden Retrievers, cats, your fish, because there's no possible way you are still listening. In the event that you are, comment underneath this video.
Buy
Give us
merch.
some keywords, give us some buzzwords, tell us a funny story, and we'll get you some merch.